Welcome back to Galahad the Moron.
Can this get any dumber?
I decided to switch it up.
Sure.
An ancient race born into their unnatural state, not turned like most others.
You know, the only reason I'm not saying this is one of the worst stories I've ever seen is because I don't want to exaggerate. But that being said, it is still pretty bad. And the only reason I'm saying this isn't one of the worst I've seen is because we've seen a lot.
I mean, for as bad as this plot...
fantastically bad media on this channel.
We mentioned it, but again, the thing that salvages the minimal to
Chapter
me
9,
is
An Uneasy
the
Alliance.
setting. If this was your generic story set in the real world with protagonists against generic mercenaries, it would be completely unsavageable to me. Because that would be just the epitome of boredom.
So what you're saying is that it's a half step above Assassin's Creed in that regard, since
Assassin's Creed tries to have, even in its worst cases, tries to put the more supernatural elements into it, which keeps it interesting and refreshing from, again, the usual real-world kind of shit.
Except for the movie, which tried to turn all the magical stuff into technology.
God,
It's
one of those big themes from the Disney wipe that
Oh no, definitely. Like the concept of an order of run-the-table knights living for centuries fighting supernatural things. That's a cool idea. Definitely.
If I may.
Go on.
Part of the issue is that these guys aren't even the original knights on the order. They're successors in that regard, which I do feel like creates a bit of a missed opportunity. Like,
to be fair, Jova, I do believe that again the game tries to compensate that by having the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen factor, and having historical figures and fictional figures interspersed in between to create these suspension of disbelief kind of world that includes both the real and
that is in that regard. And that being said, when it comes to King Arthur, he's one of those things where some people argue he was real, others think he's a fable. Either way, he's got the legend of returning to help England when it reaches its darkest hour. Regardless, though, you do have a point in that regard.
Lost traveler in this infernal city, it appears. If you don't mind me asking.
Okay, I know he's not wearing the uniform, but you'd think that the rebels would have put out, a watch out for the face of literally one of the most bloodthirsty knights after that rampage he had.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dreams, this copper is really bad at his job.
He really is.
Back you go.
I
guess those helmets really do not serve nothing if a blood.
Okay. To be fair, it's not a helmet, Teo. It's a...
Besides, that was a hat he was wearing.
Besides, it's 1886 hats.
Yeah. Okay.
Stories of a blue beetle.
No, definitely. I mean, for as bad as this plot is, it's still better than your typical David Cage plot, if anything, because it's still more. There's still coherence problems, but it's definitely still more coherent than something like a David Cage game. The problem is that.
Oh, right, go on.
The problem is that you can tell. Okay. I'm starting to think that Rui, the creative director and lead writer of this game, like Teo explained to us, he co-wrote Chains of Olympus. I'm starting to really get the feeling that game was great in spite of him and not because of him. Because
I think it's more of a case of, considering that one had multiple writers, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, that's what I said.
What I was saying is that I do wonder if he was responsible for not writing the cool stuff, like the stuff with Calliope.
Oh no, we all know. Teo, if anything, Ragnarok pretty much assures us that Corey was responsible for that. So
okay. To maybe throw the guy a bone. For all we know, there could have been multiple factors going on with the story, because this is one of those projects of Sony's that, again, was supposed to be the big new IP for Sony from Santa Monica, or again, in some other cases, a different studio. Whatever.
Santa Monica only provided assist support development. The actual creative aspect of the development was handled by Radiaton.
Regardless, though, this was one of those big Sony IP projects that was supposed to be the new IP, the thing that would draw people to the console, the thing that could potentially be the face of the platform. Yes, I'm not kidding. At some point, this was possibly going to be the
I mean,
mascot.
before this game, all the PS4 really had was Knack and Killzone Shadowfall, which were not
And
exactly,
we all
you
know how
know.
Knack turned out.
And
Like,
Killzone apparently, ironically enough, killed the franchise and essentially had Guerrilla moving on. But again, that's a story for another time.
you know, I'm noticing a running trend whenever Sony tried to, you know, tout a newcomer as the face of their system that wasn't Crash. That franchise more or less tended to end up being problematic.
Well, to be fair, it worked with Jack. Jack and Daxter.
Well, okay.
I thought it
Let me
was a higher
reiterate.
kind of thing between the between the Trinity.
Okay, let me reiterate. Starting with the 7th gen in that.
I guess.
Granted, that was partially due to Sony kind of moving away from a lot
I
more of
think
their
another
cartoony
comparison
franchises.
instead is from a video that I actually saw the day we're recording this. A game that I mentioned in the past, the Mandalore Gaming. Today has released a review for the Callisto Protocol, which has been released recently. And he actually compared it a bit to this in terms of graphical aspects, in a sense of praising the fact that there's a lot of high production value, and you can see that especially the environment and all the textures and the models. But because of that, the actual core part of the game suffers because of that. And I do wonder if, in this case, the plot suffered as a result too. Maybe there was supposed to be more stuff to it, but things had to be, chopped down all over the place.
Theo, I don't need that review to tell me that that's the correct thing. It's abundantly clear when you go through this plot, and I'll talk about it as it go along, that there was stuff chopped out of it. When there's something that's chopped out of it, it becomes incredibly obvious.
That's why we
sorry.
That's why we kind of need a what happened of this, because again, there's not much information out there to know exactly what could have been the original concept properly.
Well, we
The
know.
thing I notice,
Go on.
the thing I notice is that for some reason, in a lot of the attempts to make a new mascot for the system, or at the very least, the franchise IPs that they're the most bold about and touting that this will be like showing the future of gaming or this or that those end up being cursed. Like again, Knack, glorified tech demo that was more of a laughing stock than anything else. Killzone did not turn out that well. And again, probably most infamously, the Order 1886.
In fact,
Forgetting
honestly,
the PS4 stuff.
I will argue that the PS5 had a better start than the PS4 because we had Sackboy, we had Returnal. Returnal was definitely a much better new IP than this one. I'll definitely say that.
Part of the reason was Sony realizing, look, guys, people see Crash as our main mascot, even though he's not even owned by us anymore. There's no point in trying to tout the true mascot, so let's just focus on actually making good games.
Basically, we have to also take care of all the other coppers that are down there and trying to kill Lakshmi.
Hey, Galahad, you're so covert that I'm sure the Knights of the Round won't see you and abetting freaking Lakshmi by and get the wrong idea with you gunning down all these people. Like, okay, look, it's one thing if he's gunning down rebels, but for all he knows, these might just be guys doing their job. And mind you,
potentially.
Keep in mind, he does not still fully trust Lakshmi Bai, but he's willing to go to these
Honestly,
lengths with
Jova,
her.
if there's one thing the last part we did taught me is that at this point the game has went full brainless. Like at this point it's just a B-schlock action movie.
Look, I get it. Gameplay. Well, actually, no. This game has emphasized story over gameplay. But okay, let's pretend that the gameplay is at least worth a damn here, because in a lot of cases, as long as the gameplay is good, maybe the experience can be salvaged, right? Well, ignoring the fact that the gameplay in this game is crap, let's consider this. They essentially are letting the story be dictated more by the gameplay in a game where the story is more prevalent than the gameplay.
This is literally inbreeding.
I know, right? Like, consider this. This really feels like they just wanted this gameplay sequence here, so the story goes to that. But keep in mind, the story is what got more focus, which in regard means that the gameplay isn't that great. So they literally cannibalize each other. It's kind of fascinating when
It's
you
like
think
a new
about it.
stage of ludonarrative dissonance.
Basically.
Neither complement each other well. Also, I love how earlier the AI wasn't even aiming at you. He was literally shooting over the side of a box.
Yeah, the AI in this game is pretty much as bad as in Quantum Break. Like, the
That's the thing,
NPCs...
Pedro. It seems to rubber band. Sometimes it's really stupid, like in this case. Other times it spawns those armored guys with shotguns that flank you and basically one-shot you, if you're not careful.
Oh yeah, that's the thing too. It seems to be only those guys that have any kind of brains. That's the thing.
Well, keep in mind, there was that time when the enemy AIs were ganging up on you from all around you.
Once again, just a few years after this, Doom 2016 came around and schooled every single shooter by showcasing who's still the granddad.
A year after too, not even years after. A year after.
Yeah, I forgot if this was 2014 or not.
2015. This was
Okay.
2015.
Oh, okay, let me explain something, audience. While we don't always consider what we see that's bad to be the worst thing ever, if it does sound like we're reacting more to it than, say, something previous, well, keep in mind here. Sometimes, when something is really stupid in the moment, you can't help but react that way. Like, sure, yeah, I am not going to say that this has a worse story than that of,
Beyond Two Souls.
Yes,
Yeah, where
yes. Something
David
like
Cage
Beyond Two
fest,
Souls.
I'm
Pretty much.
I will take, even if I have, a slight more love for Detroit Become Human than Beyond Two Souls, I will take this particular game instead over any of David Cage's products.
Maybe not Heavy Rain for me, but everything else is dumb. Granted, Fahrenheit is like so dumb it becomes kind of entertaining, but I digress. That being said, while I do not
There it
consider
is.
this worse than the average David Cage Fest,
Dead.
sometimes there are some cases where there's actually more things to talk about with how bad the story is in this game.
No, I can understand. Like, I will argue Heavy Rain can be more fun, entertaining on how schlocky it is, but I will say that. Yeah. That being said, That being said, this game is still technically better just because it has more gameplay than Heavy Rain. And yeah, I know that's sad. But let me explain what just happened. Yeah. And like Dark Lord 1 explained in his review, notice how those people don't actually come out of the door until I jump down. So yeah, for what exactly are those guys doing there before I jump down? Because no matter how long I wait before dropping down, they always
I'm guessing.
they always only come in after I drop. So I can't even prepare myself. I can't even try to snap them from above or anything. No, of course not. The game is artificially forcing me into this difficult position. Go on.
From what I've learned from video game development classes, those enemies are probably models that have a trigger set on them that makes it so
Pretty
that
much,
when you
the game
land a
wants you
certain
to
way,
have
they
the
suddenly
shootout in
pop
that
in.
specific position. Ideally, the idea is that similar to Gears, to have the set piece of the cover shooter in under that scaffolding, so the game is waiting for you to get down there before it starts. The problem is how the shooting is performed, having the enemies clearly outclassing you in some kind of way, and you're still disadvantageous no matter even if they cover, like Pedro showcased the first time. Now again, this is not even a case of like in a shooter like Doom or Ratchet and Clank, where instead mobility is the key. So as long as you keep moving, the enemies cannot shoot you consistently. No, in this case, you're supposed to stand with your ass behind the cover and pray to God that the enemies do not actually have the accuracy of lens to an ant under the sun.
Basically.
It feels like the game definitely wants you to do this a specific way, especially since that guy is a flipping machine gun that takes out a ton of health.
But there's also something we haven't even talked about, but it's still a bit of a contentious point to this very day. Well, okay, I think we have mentioned, if not in this playthrough somewhere else, but having a shooter on consoles, unless specifically on console without a PC port, unless it's precisely designed and with enough careful, aiming with a controller is fucking dreadful most of the time.
Yep.
This is why a lot of games tend to have the option for assisted aiming, because I'm actually much more more easy to actually move
That's the
your
thing
mouse on
too.
screen with more pinpoint precision and click on enemies' heads.
That's the thing too. This game has aim assist in the options. The thing, and I have it on. The thing is, it's not so much the aim that screws me over in this bit. It's more so the positioning of the cover bits. because this particular section feels like it was made specifically so that the enemies have all the advantage against me they need, because they have the best possible positions.
This is what I was saying. You know, I argue that I argue that this game is relatively coded, probably because of how it's coded. Even aiming with the assisted aim still is not precise enough for you to reacting, fast enough towards the barrage of enemies. Because if it was so, you should be able to still perfectly, with enough of enough steadiness, one should be able to actually perform headshot after headshot in order to clear even a huge wave of enemies quickly, so that you minimize damage to yourself like that. But again, it's because the way the game is actually programmed, and because probably Reddit did not have much experience with actual, first-person shooters. It's probably that is the reason why.
I do feel a good third-person shooter on a console, or again using a controller, will make it so that at the very least the aiming cursor can accommodate for less precision than you would with, say, a mouse.
Actually, now that I think about this, guys did the two Ratchet & Clank games on the PSP, so a minor experience should be present. Mind you, we're completely different in how they perform the kind of shooting, but there should be at least some basis onto how perform accurately. Hold on, there might. Yeah.
Great.
Now that was your cue actually to move, Pedro.
Oh, it was. It's just that, again, the enemies get all the cool toys during this part, basically.
Hey, just another pearl to neck.
Well, hey, maybe a good game. Well, okay, I guess you could probably.
If only you were not able to carry only 2 weapons at a time, maybe you could have the cool toys.
That's the thing, too.
Most of the time.
That's the thing, too. Another big problem is that every time you start a new chapter, the game takes away your current equipment.
Yeah, I know. Just like in Mine Jack.
I've heard horror stories about that game.
Again, Joe, but by the time we're recording this, I actually had to drop it the first time I tried, and from what I heard, I got lucky because the PS3 version apparently is the more stable one. Both Angry Joe and Dark Lord Shadow, the little one, reviewed the 360 version, which is apparently even worse, and they still ideally managed to finish it, so that means I really have to give it another serious try one day.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard about it, I believe, was the Angry Joe review.
Well, from what I heard, the servers on that game are still operative for someone to do online co-op, so who knows.
I'm not getting that game.
So, I have to ask you. Do you have anything else to add, Pedro?
It's a bad shooter. Don't do it.
No, not just that. It's more so. Okay, see, it's not even just that. Like, trust me, I'll have a lot more to say about the gameplay of this game later, because by the time we get to the climax of this game, I'm genuinely so fucking done, even with the gameplay, because the gameplay was just mediocre before. But the further you get in the game, the more the game starts really throwing everything at you unreasonably. Yeah.
One fear I had during this sequence was that, for the sake of immersion, because you don't have all your gear, they suddenly would have made it that you take more damage, or you can't hold as much gear because you don't have your coat and
stuff. Hell, you have the final more challenging part of this game is the final shootout, where they throw multiple groups of enemies that are fully armed and therefore take a shit ton of damage to kill. And right after that, we fight the final werewolf boss, which is once again a QTE. So by the time you get to that final boss, the QTE is actually a godsend, because, well, at least this is easy.
You know what that means, folks? Only the first werewolf boss fight was, not dictated by QTEs. Like, it may have had a QTE in them, but they weren't the be-all, end-all of the fight.
That's the thing, Joe. But technically, it boils down to this. You have 2 boss battles in this game, and it's basically, and both of them are, and the final one is basically just a reuse of the first boss battle
with
the same QTE and everything. Technically, you only have 2 boss battles in this game.
Remember, No. Remember, Pedro, the first encounter we ever had with a werewolf was down in that subway bit with
Hey,
the guy
guess
who would
what's
run in and out
another
of
thing that this has in
shadows.
common with the Callisto
Well,
Protocol?
the thing is,
Only 3 bosses?
And one done repeated multiple times.
well, the thing
dear.
is, Jova, I don't even consider that one in the subway to be a boss because it's just werewolves running at you, and you practically can't die because the game gives you plenty of time to recover between hits. So I don't even consider that a boss
that's meant
battle.
to be a boss fight. I always assumed that was a boss fight because
That's a
I
poor
don't
excuse
think
for a
we
boss
really
fight.
Well, yeah, without a doubt.
Coming through.
So I'm guessing the Callisto Protocol is a problematic game.
There you go. So if you get it wrong,
okay,
what the fuck happened there? How the hell did you?
Galahad is really bad at his job.
I get that I missed the QTE, but logistically, how did that fail cutscene happen exactly? Like, Galahad should have got that guy faster than he...
Galahad and reviewed his position, the guy turned and shot
Yeah,
him.
I was gonna say I got it. By failing the QTE, you stepped too loud, or you were just a bit too slow when he heard you and shoot.
There you
Also, to
go.
answer your question, Jova, technically no, but it's too long to actually properly explain in a few sentences.
Alright, at least now we have a sniper section, and this one's fine.
Ow.
Help Lakshmi to safety.
Rubber, I'm pinned here.
You know, maybe we should cover those games at some point.
The Dawn of War ones, those are RTSs, so there's not much to see except from the specific dialogues. I'll see what I can do, because the story, the dialogues in themselves are actually fine, but again, not sure how much commentary worthy they can be.
Like Igraine,
I'll see what I can do.
like Igraine said at the beginning of this playthrough, just your typical day in London.
Bait.
Yeah, I know. Last time I went to London, there was some guys firing sniper rifles. I maybe they were trying to reenact this game, but
Yeah,
How did you make it
US
through
the time in London.
unscathed? How did you make it through unscathed, Ribs, or is this just a regular Tuesday?
turns out the idiots didn't even load proper bullets.
Oh, so blanks.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for the barrel developers.
That still would hurt if you got hit by them, but hey, I guess it's not lethal most of the time.
Yeah, don't worry, I made it okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just keep shooting cops until... Yeah, there you go.
You know, I get what they're trying to do. Excite us with all this gameplay here.
I was also trying to think, compared to a couple of the shooters that I played recently and we had as runs for this, and I probably will still take this over both Haze and Homefront. I know that it's a case of, they're bad games, it's so easy to say that, but not so much. I get the idea that, in a sense, this still manages to function a bit better than those to be more bearable, you know?
I can understand where you're coming from, like...
And again, it's most of a case of, Haze was just... to say that it's called its concept, it's an euphemism, and there is what we do have is almost an unplayable mess, and Homefront's story is so ham-fisted and almost ridiculous that you really don't want to have anything to do about it after the second chapter. Alright, let's see.
Behind you!
God,
Behind you!
Oh, look who's that!
Wait.
Okay, fun fact. I pressed that circle button prompt. I have no fucking clue what happened there. I pressed it. Okay,
Pedro, enough press is still a press.
here's the thing. Here's the thing about this game and its QTEs. A lot of times, there's certain QTEs where I have to do a second try because I know in advance what button the game is. Because the timer you have to press that button is practically like half a second. Like you don't have much time to react to that. Like, okay, now it's circle. Okay, fine. Like I feel like the QTEs. Okay, and I'm playing on easy mode for the record, so I have to wonder what exactly does the hard mode do.
Quickly, press triangle to live.
Chug.
Yep.
Have two QTEs at once.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, so like in Heavy Rain, where the hard mode increases the number of buttons per QTE.
I'm just guessing.
And yeah, that's what I keep saying.
Please, game, give us more reasons to crawl with a slow pace.
Not just that, like Heavy Rain doesn't even have difficulty-related trophies, so there's literally no reason to play that game in anything other than easy. Like all the extra difficulties make things more painful.
Catch.
Wait, that explosion didn't feel like it landed right in proportion to where he threw it.
Damn it, I'm in no mood to jest. You said
Again, Galahad.
Where is it?
You came all this way and got shot up on a whim.
I hope it was worth it.
Like, what if it turns out this is legit all just a trap? Like, how's he gonna get out of this? He is wounded and
that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. Are you honestly, Galahad? For all you know, she could be leading you into a trap. She's your fucking enemy.
If the game showcased that Galahad has nothing to lose at this point, like that he doesn't trust anyone anymore, doesn't have a family to return to, he has lost faith in the Order, this would make a lot more sense, but once again, the game does nothing. And I argue it's not even a thing of it hints at it. I know that again, there's the dread of potentially feeling for the writer, but again, even I think there's nothing to work here to begin with on that matter.
It's because they don't ever like, for example, he never talks to Igraine about this. Like you have Igraine that you can still trust, and Lafayette as well. I mean, Lafayette is not exactly the most serious guy, but he's still so far.
All I needed was Percival to die to completely shift this paradigm.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, if I may, we either needed to get more scenes showcasing his relationship with Percival to show that while he hides his emotions, he clearly did care deeply for Percival to ignite such a rage, or what they needed to do was have this all be a big Batman gambit. Like, it turns out that while he is supposedly putting his trust into Lakshmi, what he has is a variety of backup plans just in case things go sour. Like, maybe have it turn out that he's having Igraine or Lafayette, or hell, even okay, not Hastings, but even
maybe
like
Tesla. It showcased that Tesla seemed to wanting to be the friendly towards Galahad, so there's that too. And again, I know what the rest of the game is about. Trust me, so I know what I'm talking.
If anything, one thing I would have had to be a twist is that it turns out Igraine's the traitor within the Knights, essentially, which would explain why she's so quick to turn on Galahad, because it's not that she actually believes it, but it's more like she's trying to cover up her own treachery. I think I know why they didn't do that,
but I'm not mentioning right now.
You go up there.
We'll see, but all the same, though, there were so many better ways they could have done this plot instead of what they do. Because, again, Galahad has never acted this stupid prior, and I'm sorry, we did not see enough or get enough inferred between him and Percival. Unless there's, like, some special hidden collectible that shows letters between him and Percival that really show how much he cares for him.
Not that I know of, like, at the very least. I tried to look up info on even the stuff that's mentioned, like again, allegedly why Lakshmi has a vial of black water, but I don't think that much is mentioned between, how much Galahad trusted Percival and, and what was the issue. Again, the game is just missing a lot of information.
I will say this, I'm surprised we did not get much supplementary material for this.
No,
Granted,
again, ideally, if I understand correctly, at least some story DLC was planned in some kind of fashion, but probably because of reception and sales combined, they decided to just not even try.
I suppose, to their credit, they didn't try to count their chickens before their eggs in terms of how successful this thing would be. On the other hand, though, it feels like despite Sony really tooting their horn about this game, it feels like they had little faith in it with how
Not
little
really
there is to
unprecedented because it has been a couple of for a couple of years.
Oh, hold on.
since
Speaking
the
of collectibles,
tutorial.
cable from the new continent. So let's see what that's
Oh,
so let's see what that's
they're
about.
probably-
Okay, let's see here.
May 12th, 1884. Today is the 42nd day of our journey across the new continent. Sir Stanley seems eager to finish this voyage and return to his beloved
Oh,
Africa.
by new continent, they're talking about America, aren't they?
Yeah, it's John Smith, as you'll notice there at the bottom. So yeah.
The savages in this land seem
Wait a
tamer
minute.
and well behaved than he remembers.
How did they... Oh, wait. Are we to assume that this is like a Knight member reading this, or is this the actual John Smith? Because
Is it?
pretty sure Radius...
I don't know. For all we know, John Smith became a member of the Order, which would be immensely fucked up if true.
Let me just check and see. Yeah, because his poor wife died on a ship.
Many have abandoned
Let's
their old
see.
ways,
John Smith.
civilized.
If this is referring to the John Smith that we're probably thinking of, born in January 1580. Wait, no, that can't be right.
Remember the
Oh, wait,
Blackwater
no, yeah.
grants longer life.
California is now
Yeah, historically he died in June of 1631, so
Okay then.
either this is like, somebody reading one of his memoirs, or this is the actual John Smith.
Still, the point is exactly what you could expect from an audiolog center around those meet. Moving on.
Yeah.
Who
No.
knows?
Once again, that thing doesn't really help with the plot at all. It's just kind of honestly, I have no even idea what the hell they even have much to do with anything. So tune in next time, where hopefully we'll find the proof Lakshmi is preferring, or either that, or she's leading us into a trap. Either way, Sir Galahad is a twat. There you go, too.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
But,